We're following multiple developing stories tonight, including the trial for two men connected to the deadly shooting of Dayton Police Detective George Del Rio. But first tonight, we are tracking a code red weather alert. Now, a live look from our EcoPlumber Skycam. A beautiful day out there, even really like unseasonably warm. But tomorrow, things are really going to be changing. So let's send it straight over to Chief Meteorologist Natalie Walters.
Yeah, you know when it's this nice in February that we're likely going to see some active weather making its way in. And that's why we do have a code red weather alert, because we do have a very potent storm system that's going to be making its way in through the day tomorrow, mainly late tomorrow evening, tomorrow night. Greene is the threat for some damaging wind gusts. The threat is overall low, but an isolated tornado certainly can't be ruled out with this. That's what we're going to be tracking late tomorrow. Heavy rain is a potential, and then also we could see some large hail. Even with some storms tonight into the day tomorrow, we could be tracking some hail as well. This is a look at our overall risks. So level 1 threat for most of the Miami Valley with this, but we do have a level 2 threat for our northwestern counties. With this risk, again, damaging wind gusts main concern, but we also have that low end tornado risk, slightly higher tornado risk further off to the northwest. Temperature wise, it's mild. We've cooled a little bit, but we got into the upper 60s today, but we're sitting at 65 in Dayton, or 64 in Dayton. All of us warmer compared to this time yesterday. But overnight, we will start to see a few thunderstorms developing, especially by early tomorrow morning. So I'm going to time it all out for you. Talk about that severe risk in just a bit.
This morning, the trial began for two of the men charged in connection to the shooting death of Dayton Police Detective George Del Rio back in 2019. Lydia Bice was in that courtroom all morning long. And so, Lydia, what did you learn?
Well, today is the first day of this trial, so of course that meant jury selection. But the biggest update this morning was that only two of the three men involved in this case are being tried here. So Nathan Goddard Jr. is the man accused of shooting Detective Del Rio twice in the face, and Kaki Kortner will both stand trial here at the federal court building behind me. But there was no mention of Lionel Combs this morning at all. And the U.S. Attorney's Office did confirm to me that he is not being tried with the others, but they wouldn't provide more information as to why.
So I know that at the start of the trial, this brings, of course, memories back for the Dayton Police Department. And what exactly did they tell you today?
So in a statement, the Dayton Police Department says, in part, Detective George Del Rio's impact on the Dayton Police Department is immeasurable, and his legacy remains etched in the hearts of his family, those who served alongside him, and the community he dedicated more than 30 years to protect. Now head over to Fox 45 at 6:30, where you'll hear from Fraternal Order of Police President Sergeant Kyle Thomas, where he shares more about Detective Del Rio's life and legacy. Back to you.
Lydia, thank you. Well, jury selection for this man, Reed Duran, is now underway. Greene County prosecutors say Duran tried to kidnap a child at an elementary school in Xenia. Investigators say he impersonated a parent at the open house at St. Bridget's School in 2022. According to prosecutors, Duran planned to drug and kidnap a child at the event. The school's principal says he determined that he was not a father and actually escorted Duran out of the building before calling police. Duran has pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. His
law itself, so that it makes it much harder for people to actually qualify for asylum coming into the country, and it speeds up the hearings.
Now, Republicans' support for the deal fizzled after former President Donald Trump argued it would hurt his presidential campaign. Republicans against the deal argue it isn't strong enough. Its passage would also have depended on providing more aid for Ukraine and Israel. Lawmakers are now looking for alternative paths forward. And with immigration and the border front and center in the 2024 presidential campaign, those frontrunners are going to the front lines in Texas. The White House announced just today President Biden will visit Brownsville on Thursday. Former President Donald Trump is expected to give remarks in Eagle Pass the same day. Former President Trump and his adult sons and 2 former Trump Organization officials are now appealing the $464 million civil fraud judgment against them. On Friday, Judge Arthur Engoron issued the official judgment in the New York Attorney General's case. The former president is personally on the hook for $454 million, including interest payments. Now, earlier this month, they were found liable for fraud, conspiracy, and issuing false financial statements, They were accused of inflating the value of real estate assets to get more favorable loan and insurance rates. Meanwhile, Congress is cutting it pretty close if they want to avoid a partial government shutdown. That shutdown would begin on Friday, and as of right now, there's not a single spending bill even put together to avoid the outcome. And the House isn't even in session until Wednesday.
My position to my colleagues on Capitol Hill is clear. You either secure the border or you get no money for the government.
The rest of the world is watching our dysfunction. Our dysfunction has become a national security threat.
After Friday, if nothing gets accomplished, then Departments of Energy, Veterans Affairs and Transportation and the FDA would be impacted. And then there's another deadline on March 8th that would impact additional departments, including Defense and Homeland Security. Well, the Supreme Court hearing oral arguments in a pair of cases that will determine how social media platforms are allowed to operate. Republican leaders in Texas and Florida defending new state laws that set limits on content moderation, which social media companies say violate their free speech. National correspondent Altra Al-Nashar shows us how this played out with the 9 justices.
The nation's highest court contemplating what free speech means in the digital age. In 2020 and 2021, when misinformation about vaccines and election integrity were a national focus, many Republicans accused platforms of censoring conservative views. Republican leaders in Texas and Florida passed laws to limit how social media companies control content.
Freedom of speech is under attack in Texas.
The laws have been on hold pending litigation brought by trade groups representing tech companies.
Our 2 associations brought these lawsuits to protect the First Amendment rights of websites when they're making editorial choices about what kind of content is appropriate for their communities.
Justices hearing arguments about how the laws would actually play out.
The consistency provision, which is really the heart of our law, just says to the platforms, apply your content moderation policies consistently.
Well, that's effectively saying Nazi propaganda and ISIS extremism, rantings online, to say nothing of predators and fraud. All of that has to be put on equal footing with decent American internet users.
At the end of arguments, the justices appeared torn. They're also questioning whether social media sites are common carriers that transmit user content, or if they moderate content, are they more like editors? The court is expected to decide the fate of these state laws by June. In Washington, I'm Altra Al-Nashar.
It is day 4 of the involuntary manslaughter trial of the armorer on the set of the film Rust, and it is now wrapping up. 26-year-old Hannah Gutierrez-Reed is accused of, quote, unprofessional and sloppy work that led to the fatal shooting of a cinematographer by actor Alec Baldwin during production. Baldwin faces similar charges, but his trial date hasn't been set. An FBI forensic examiner performed an analysis on the gun that killed Helena Hutchins.
I can't say it's impossible because I can't account for every single variable. All I can testify to is the results of my testing. It did not appear that any of the safeties were malfunctioning or anything like that. So it was functioning normally when I received it.
Now, the defense's case is that Baldwin is the one who pulled the trigger and shot Hutchins, and Gutierrez-Reed is just his scapegoat. Now, Baldwin blames her for the on-set tragedy. She blames him for allegedly running a chaotic set. A babysitter now charged with murdering a child in her care. The new details on the case. That's coming up next.
Plus, I'm tracking the potential for severe storms for our day tomorrow. That's why we have a code red weather alert. I'll time it all out for you coming up. You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
A viewer sent us these pictures of ice shoves along Lake Michigan on Sunday. Ice shoves occur when currents in the water pile up chunks of ice onto the shore. They're beautiful, but they can damage docks, piers, or even homes if they're too close to the water. And this photographer got right to the point over the weekend with this shot of the Washington Monument and the snow moon.
For more content like this, like the National Weather Desk on Facebook.
New details coming out tonight about an infant who died at an in-home daycare outside of Columbus, and the woman charged with murdering him. Tom Bosco has the latest.
My God, that is horrible. I mean, absolutely horrible.
That's the reaction from a neighbor in this Reynoldsburg neighborhood learning about the death of a 5-month-old infant in this home. Investigators say it was a case of shaken baby and that this little one, Cash Crawford Chapman, was being taken care of here at an in-home daycare. They say this woman, 51-year-old Tamara Straughter, is the one who shook the baby. That happened back on October 9th. Someone called 911 to the home that day because of a child that was barely breathing. The baby's aunt tells me after that, family members took the baby to Nationwide Children's Hospital. They say doctors declared little Cash brain dead and that the baby was taken off life support 4 days later. The coroner's report says the child had injuries to his head and neck and swelling of the brain consistent with being shaken. Neighbors say they knew Straughter had a daycare in her home. One told me he talked to the woman from time to time.
Really a nice lady, she really is, you know. She's really a pleasant person to me, you know, to talk to and stuff.
Well, that was Tom Bosco reporting a beautiful shot of downtown Dayton today. That sun shining, absolutely gorgeous out there. But of course, Natalie, it's going to be changing for us.
Yeah, it was a picture-perfect day today. We got a nice day yesterday, but of course, in February, that means changes are coming, and that also means the potential for some shower storms, some of which could be severe. So I want to start out with tonight. We do have a very low-end risk for severe storms, level 1 threat. Now, this will mainly be with storms making their way in overnight, early tomorrow morning, which potentially could have some large hail associated with them. Overall, the risk is low, but something that we'll have to watch out for overnight. Our main threat does arrive by tomorrow. We do have a level 1 threat for most of us. That's what you see in green. Level 2 threat for our northwestern counties. That does include parts of Mercer County, parts of Auglaize County under a level 2 threat for severe storms. Now, the main threats with this are going to be damaging wind gusts. We got a lot of wind energy with this storm, so damaging wind gusts, main concern. We'll have to monitor for that late into the day tomorrow. Tornado risk is not zero. We do have a risk for an isolated tornado out of this, so we'll have to be monitoring that. Large hail, a small concern. Could see some heavy rain that could yield to some localized flooding as well. EcoPlumber Skycam, though, right now showing things quiet. Beautiful sunset out there. Currently, it is mild, hanging out in the mid-60s, 64, 11 degrees warmer compared to this time yesterday. The winds are going to start to increase overnight. We got southerly winds that are going to continue to pick up. 64 again in Dayton at this hour. And as this warm front continues to lift northward, we're going to sit in the warm sector of this system. So we're going to be sitting in a warm, fairly moist, unstable atmosphere that does bring up the potential for those stronger storms, but it's not really until this makes its way in by late into the day tomorrow, our severe threat really begins to increase. So timing it out for us. Overnight, early tomorrow, some models hinting at some storms developing across the region. This would mainly pose that threat for some large hail, but heading into tomorrow afternoon, still pretty mild. We're going to make it into the 60s. Can't rule out a shower or two, but it looks like a lot of the activity will hold off until late into the evening. Many models putting this past around midnight or so. I would give it around a time frame from 10 p.m. the onset through the overnight hours, but this is indicating around midnight. Could start to see some storms developing with that severe potential. So it does look like very likely a late evening overnight type of event. So you'll want to stay weather aware. Could see some storms lingering into the morning hours. This is about 7 a.m. Potential for perhaps some stronger storms lingering across the region before we then cool off back into the 30s. So we're going to wake up to some thunderstorms and then even could see a few snowflakes by our Wednesday afternoon. So very active weather is in the forecast. So as of right now, you'll just want to stay weather aware, have a way to get weather alerts. And of course, we're going to be keeping you posted right here on air and online as we head into our day tomorrow. So there's a look at our forecast. 60 for a high on Wednesday, but that's for the start of the day. Plan on falling temperatures by the rest of the afternoon, rebounding though back into the 60s again by next week.
Well, it happens once every 4 years. We get an extra day. How you can spend your bonus day with a sweet treat. You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.
The Dayton 24/7 Now News app, brought to you by the Jeff Schmidt Auto Group.
Well, Leap Day is this Thursday. It happens once every 4 years. Alex King tells us one way you can celebrate the rare day.
Young's Jersey Dairy wants you to come out and celebrate Leap Day with them, and there's going to be a special Leap Day Sundae. This is so good. It is a double chocolate hot fudge brownie sundae for only $5. Plus, you can get a free pair of solar glasses for the upcoming solar eclipse with each special sundae purchase. And this is just really delicious. So this is available only on Leap Day, so keep this in mind. This is a picture of the Leap Day special. Again, $5. It is a dip of homemade double chocolate fudge brownie ice cream topped with hot fudge, whipped cream, chocolate chips, cherry, and a brownie for, again, only $5, and you'll get those free solar eclipse glasses with that special sundae. And Young's Jersey Dairy is also hosting a solar eclipse event on the big day, so lots to look forward to, lots of sweets and treats to keep in mind. Back to you guys.
It's gonna be pretty nice. Well, a little chilly maybe, I guess, on Thursday.
On Thursday, a little chilly. Yeah, we will have the sun. It will be chilly though, but you know, any day is a good day for ice cream.
I know.
But we do have storms tomorrow and into Wednesday, so stay weather aware. Next couple of days, we'll be keeping you posted.
All right. We'll make sure you tune in here, and then we'll be seeing you over on